Finally a free man. After almost 7 years detained without charge, Al Jazeera's Sami al-Hajj has been released. Was his detention in Guantanamo Bay a punishment for Al Jazeera? And is this an example of the heavy price journalists have been made to pay? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Imran Garta. Al Jazeera has campaigned long and hard for the release of Sami al-Hajj, and now the Sudanese cameraman is finally back home. In stark contrast to other former Guantanamo detainees, al-Hajj was greeted by his president, Omar al-Bashir, upon arrival. Footage of Sami's return didn't sit well with Pentagon officials, who claim it's meant to influence public opinion. Amr al-Kahki visited Sami al-Hajj in hospital.
This is the first time I'd seen my colleague Sami al-Hajj for 79 months. Last time we met was at Al Jazeera's headquarters in Doha. He was heading to Afghanistan like many other journalists deployed to cover the war there. It was October 2001, but he never made it back to Doha. He was arrested and sent to Guantanamo Bay. This ordeal has taken its toll on Sami. Friday, after arriving in Khartoum, he looked more like a 65-year-old, though he turned just 39 last February.
I have been waiting for this moment for the past 7 years, and I would have wished my family would have been with me at this moment, but this is fate. I want to highlight the reason for my detention. One of the reasons was to silence the work of free media.
Sami's release was said to be the result of a deal forged between the Sudanese government and Washington. But Khartoum is denying that, saying the two parties don't have the kind of relations that would make such a deal possible. And the visit by the Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir to Sami at his hospital bed sent a strong message of support.
President Bashir asked him about his health and how he found Sudan after all these years. It was a morale boost to Sami. He told him he's free once he completes his treatment. Yet Sami's sleep is still interrupted by nightmares.
Upon touching down in Khartoum airport, Sami looked frail and distressed. On a stretcher, he was taken to hospital for a hero's welcome by family, friends, and Al Jazeera's officials.
He started to break out his hunger strike. This is a message I need to send. He started to take orally. We start with fluids. He's doing well.
And then in a hospital meeting room, the scene he must have been dreaming of. Sami was reunited with his wife and young son, a boy he last saw as a toddler.
Mohammed made up an image of his father through video and photos, and then came to really meet him for the first time just before he turns 8. I hope that the three of us return soon to Doha together.
7 precious years lost from Sami's life. His back, receiving treatment in this hospital, a traumatized person. The only moment of glamour and glee was when he hugged his son. That's when I saw the Sami I once knew, even if it was for a moment. Once again, a happy man. Amr al-Kahki, Al Jazeera, Al-Khartoum.
Well, joining us now are our guests in Khartoum, Wadda Khanfar, the Director General of the Al Jazeera Network. In London, Abdul Wahab Al-Afandi, Senior Lecturer at the University of Westminster. And in Washington, D.C., Frank Smith of the Committee to Protect Journalists. Welcome to the program, gentlemen. Wadda Khanfar, if I could start off with you. You've seen Sami al-Hajj very recently. Describe his condition to us at present.
Actually, when he arrived, he was in a very bad situation health-wise. I mean, some doctors actually, when they received him at the airport, transferring him through the ambulance to the hospital, they told me that they thought that he may not make it to the hospital because his body was becoming a little bit cold and his pressure was down and his heart was not right. And of course, they were able to revive him, and after a while, actually, he started to recover. Now, this gentleman who spent 480 days actually on hunger strike was in a situation which was difficult, and he is still actually in a difficult situation. However, he is recovering. He now feels that he is reunited with his family, with his colleagues, with his friends, with his with the people who are queuing in front of a hospital to go and see him. So therefore, definitely he is recovering very quickly, and he is coming back with a lot of hope and a lot of smile actually on his face.
A U.S. Defense Department official told ABC News very recently, quote, "He's a manipulator and a propagandist," unquote. And they went as far as to say that he's faked the ill health upon arrival. How would you respond to that?
Nonsense. I could tell you this is nonsense. The medical reports that are released today, actually from the hospital, tell us that he was in a very difficult situation. This gentleman was sick in hospital in Guantanamo, and then he was transferred to Khartoum more than 20 hours. He was actually chained to his chair. He was not allowed to, he didn't have food. He was not going to the bathroom. So therefore, he was in a very difficult situation. I mean, does really Sami need sympathy so he may manipulate and he may act? I mean, I think Sami, everyone knows that, everyone who was following his case was sympathizing with Sami. So Sami, who spent 6.5 years in Guantanamo without any accusation and without any reason, I don't think he needs to act. So he may gain, may gain some sympathy. So this is something, I cannot imagine after so much time of Sami spending in jail, these guys are trying again and again to be rude in a way, actually, and to accuse him of this kind of accusation. I mean, they should be apologizing. They should really try to compensate for this time that he spent in jail, not really start accusing him after he has become a free man.
In Washington, Frank Smith, Al Jazeera, among others, has lobbied, campaigned throughout these 6.5 years while Sami was at Guantanamo Bay. Do you think that it was enough, or do you think more could have been done by many different players?
Well, always there's more that can be done to shine more light on press freedom cases in a variety of cases throughout the world. The Committee to Protect Journalists continuously raised the ongoing detention of Sami al-Hajj without being charged in any transparent court of law at every opportunity, both in public and private settings, with U.S. government officials, in addition to organizing a press conference at the National Press Club about his case, as well as, at the time, the ongoing detention then of the Associated Press photographer Bilal Hussein. So certainly we need more attention to these kinds of cases, but some cases are ongoing that also need more attention. Eritrea has more than a dozen journalists that have been held incommunicado for even longer than Sami al-Hajj was held in Eritrea for alleged, in a crackdown that came in the wake of 9/11 by the government of Eritrea, and certainly that's a case, like many others around the world, that still deserve more attention.
Abdul Wahab Al-Effendi, do you believe that Sami al-Hajj was punished for Al Jazeera's coverage within Afghanistan?
Well, I think what this shows is that, and the Pentagon statement shows what monumental stupidity has followed this case, where the Pentagon has held this journalist. We could have found some excuse for the Pentagon if, let us say, for the first few months they didn't know he was a journalist, but they found out that he was a journalist. The Jazeera vouched for him. So clearly they wanted to punish Al Jazeera. But I think as far as the U.S. is concerned, it was an act of, as I said, monumental stupidity, because everybody, as Waddah said, sympathized with him. You could see the joy in Sudan and the Arab world on his release. He is a hero for everybody. And the U.S. has lost. I mean, it was a very bad decision, and they also, as Waddah said, they don't want to apologize. I think it's not for Sami, but I think for the United States, this whole episode of Sami al-Hajj and the whole episode of Guantanamo, where already 700 of the 900 have been released without charge, while the former defense minister, Donald Rumsfeld, was saying these are criminals and the scum of the earth, and they are terrorists. But even the Pentagon couldn't hold them that long.
Abdul Wahab, sorry to interrupt you. There was also a very much publicized case in recent months, although different, of Alan Johnston, kidnapped in Gaza. I wonder, do you think there was an agenda behind extra special media attention given to the kidnapping and subsequent release of Alan Johnston than there was to Sami al-Hajj's case?
Well, I think there is what I call media racism. As the gentleman from the Committee to Protect Journalists said, there have been some press conferences and there have been some highlights about Sami's case, but I didn't see any significant coverage of it in the Western media. They didn't treat him as a journalist. They believed blindly in what the American government was saying, and nobody championed him. But if any other Western journalist is arrested or is kidnapped or held, you find saturated coverage from wall to wall about as if he was the only person arrested in the world. So I think unless and until this media racism is corrected and journalists are treated alike, we will see problems like this one.
Frank Smith, around 275 detainees are left in Guantanamo Bay. Has al-Hajj's much publicized release created some sort of leverage maybe for the place to be shut down?
I'm not sure about that. There's been an ongoing discussion over the future of Guantanamo, and certainly this adds to it. But to echo the point that was made before, for the United States to hold a journalist and to hold a journalist in prison without charging that journalist with a crime is entirely unacceptable. And it not only weakens the respect of the United States for press freedom by U.S. actors, it also sends a message to other actors around the world that press freedom is not so important. So clearly, to hold a journalist without charging him or her for that period of time or for any period of time is entirely unacceptable. And things need to be done to restore respect for press freedom by the United States and others around the world.
Wadda Khanfar, Sami alleges that the U.S. had offered to release him if he would spy on the Al Jazeera network. How concerned are you regarding that?
You know, we are concerned because a government like USA is actually now using media or trying to use media in order to spy on people, to spy on their colleagues. So the situation, I mean, I think what is happening in Guantanamo, what happened with Sami al-Hajj, stands against whatever good America stood one day for. Actually, that is a major problem for us. America one day actually stood for the human rights, for democracy, for freedom of expression. Al Jazeera and many other TV stations in the region were inspired actually by such slogans and spirit that came out from the American media. Now, you know, we are really concerned not about Sami, and Sami definitely he stood up, you know, in a way that is amazing. Sami spent 480 days without having food, and the way that he was treated with other people there is something incredible. However, you know, what I would like to say, definitely centers of power right now are trying to manipulate media. They are trying to use it for certain purposes. And in my opinion, if we stand with each other to protect this profession, this is the only way that we could really, you know, sustain ourselves. Otherwise, definitely, we in media are not, you know, we don't have that power. We don't have that hard power that could stand against such kind of conspiracies or against the planning of centers of power.
Well, it's time for a short break. When we come back, we ask, press freedom is now celebrated worldwide, but are journalists really free and safe? Do stay with us.